So again, introductions. Again, my name is Scott Burke. I'm the AEC Cloud Solutions Program Manager here at Imagine It. So I work with our team in relation to all the cloud products that Autodesk offers. So what we're talking about today, of course, is BIM 360 Build, but for the designers and for basically the construction administration process, not just, BIM 360 Build is not just for the construction firms and the GCs. It's really for everyone. So again, when we look here, moving forward here, we're moving from modeling into the information phase, and that's something that I've always said as well, is that it's really the I that's important in BIM. The model, it's nice to have, there's value there, but it's really more about the data more than anything else, and that's really always been it. It's the data. So again, because we have these models now that are enriched with all this information, we're seeing increasing amounts of this data, and now we're trying to derive value basically from that data. And of course, we've seen that with the cloud technology. And cloud technology in many ways isn't really new. Autodesk was in the cloud back in the very, very late 90s with Buzzsaw when that first came out. And that was absolutely a cloud product. That was way before Dropbox or Box or SharePoint or any of those things. Autodesk had already invested in the cloud almost 20 years ago. And again, as we all know, everyone's in constant communication. It's almost overload, right? Because it's so hard to basically manage all that information, whether it be from Facebook or Twitter or Instagram and all those things in our day-to-day life. And we're running, of course, into that with our work life as well. And again, all this information that is out there, it's at our fingertips. It's on iPads, our smartphones, our computers. Anywhere where we are, we can get access to the information that we need. So we look at Autodesk here, and they're certainly committed in investing in this future. They understand that this is where we need to be. So they're bringing these cloud-based solutions for engineering into the construction space. This year alone, or even beginning of last year, just for PlanGrid, that was $875 million investment because they saw that was a leader in the construction management industry in the field, and they had some good things there, and they wanted to make sure they could invest properly in that and make a commitment to this. The same with their investment in Building Connected, because that's the other aspect here, bringing in bids and bid management, and then even assemble systems when it comes to quantification, cost estimation, things like that. So Autodesk is certainly committed to this industry. They've just this year alone, the past couple of months, they've already invested $1 billion. I mean, that's not a small amount of money. I mean, they're putting out a large amount of their research and development efforts in this technology to make sure that it works and can deliver as promised. So also here, let's take a look at, what do we do in our day-to-day lives as a BIM manager or really as a construction administrator? You're working on site, you're visiting the site constantly, you're gathering information, you're making sure people have drawings, the right versions of drawings and all that, right? So again, when we look at a construction project, there are countless thousands of drawings that have to be maintained, managed, version controlled, all of that we have to prepare. And really, these drawings, of course, are the basis of which the projects are being estimated on, they're being built from. There's a lot of responsibility with these documents. And of course, version control is probably one of the most important things, is making sure that everyone has the latest drawing, the latest update, the latest addendum. That's probably by far the most important part of all of this, is not only do the drawings need to be accurate and data rich, but the right version needs to be with the right people, and we need to be able to track that. And also, when we're in the field, we're often either creating or responding to RFIs. And how are we doing that? We're using paper and pencil and clipboards in the field, paper clips, PDFs, XML files, Excel documents, Word files, videos even, pictures. All those things, we're basically responding to those in different ways. And maybe we have different tools that specialize just in RFIs that are even cloud-based and such. And we're also managing or participating in the submittal process, and we have to set up a process for each job, how we're going to respond, how we're going to send the information out, how we're going to track it, are we using email, and so on. And also there's adjustments to the project budget, right? An owner wants to change a material from drywall to granite or something like that, or change the countertops, or change the doors from wood to hollow core doors or whatever to save money, or maybe it's going to increase the cost and it's going to affect the project budget. And we need a way to be able to manage that as well. And of course, one of the key things we're doing, especially during just for quality control of our designs, is we have checklists and punch lists, and we're going through and making sure things are being installed the way we envision them, making sure that if it's a mechanical piece of equipment that has gone through the commissioning process, that it works, that there are certain things that we as a construction administrator have to do beyond what a GC is already doing in the field as well. So we're trying to gather all of that information and manage all that data all the time. And there's this, like I said, there are many different solutions, point solutions out there that do a very good job at that one thing, at this one thing over here, where it be managing a drawing, or it be doing a punch list tool, or maybe there's a submittal exchange program that we're using and such. And those are all great tools by themselves, but they do not talk to each other. So every time we shift from one tool to another, we have to find a way to get that data out and then upload it into the other system, use that system to track the information, and maybe get that data back out and then try to get it back into another system. And then when you start doing that and you start having all these silos, we start losing the whole goal here of having that single source of truth. So really that's what BIM 360 is for. It's really creating that path from uncertainty to predictability. And of course, we're digitizing and collaborating online, but again, in a single system. We're integrating and automating the workflows, but in a single system. And then because we have that one system, that one central source of truth, we have a way to analyze that. And when we analyze things, we can then look at to where the problems may be, where issues may have been common, and we can use that to continually improve the process moving forward. So when we look at BIM 360, it's all about being connected. It's all about having information that is secure. It is integrated in both the fact that it's integrated with itself, meaning all the tools that are in the suite, but it also has that ability to integrate with external parties and third-party apps as well. And of course, it's all data-driven. It's just one central source of truth that all the information is being stored in. And it's also mobile. It's connected. We can be anywhere. We can be on our smartphone or tablet device and still have access to all this information and participate in the process from our smart devices that we already all know how to learn and use here. So there's actually really not a big learning curve with these tools. We're already using these tools every day. If you can use Facebook, you can use BIM 360. And of course, this portals are very secure, both in the fact that the only people who have access to this data is you. Autodesk and no one else has access to the information within your projects. And then within the project, once you bring someone in the main part of the project, you then have a lot of finite control over exactly what people do and see within the system. And that's a very important part of this as well. And as I mentioned before, it's integrated. So there's 50 different file formats that are involved that you can bring in and view directly in this environment. It has an open API, meaning that you can have other third-party applications out there that you might already be using, that you can integrate and then bidirectionally share the data with this, again, central source of truth. So even though you may be using another third party or a siloed application, because of the ability of BIM 360 using the Forge platform to transfer the data bidirectionally, you can still have a central source of truth, yet still use maybe some of your favorite applications like SmartBid, for instance. And again, because this is all data driven, we're able to provide and create reports. We can keep an eye on issue activity versus closed activity, things like that, the root causes of our issues, or how long does it take a particular company to resolve issues and such. And because we have this data, it allows us to make better decisions. So again, just kind of talking about the platform in general here, Autodesk developed the Autodesk Forge kind of web-based programming interface as a mechanism, as a place to organize the data so that all the tools that they have are written basically in Forge, And Forge itself has been designed to be an open API, meaning as long as you give someone or an application permission to access the data, all the data is freely available to be used by third-party applications and by itself, of course. And then on top of the Autodesk Forge, we have the data. The data for all our projects are in this one bucket. And then we use the various different tools in the platform to do different things with that information. And again, because all of the project information is in one place, all the issues, RFIs, submittals, all these things that we do are in this one place, we're able to provide analytics and insight into those things, and then again, continually improve our processes. So when we look at some of the tools that are available here, although I will be primarily just talking about Docs and Build, I just still wanted to show kind of the ecosystem here and kind of understand where things are. So if we look at the top here, the top gray area, those were the original tools that Autodesk provided for the construction industry that were essentially siloed. They did their own thing. So we had Collaboration for Revit, which was built on Team. That was for live model coordination. Then we had BIM 360 Glue. That was for taking models and doing clash detection and things like that. And then we had BIM 360 Field, which was for taking the data and working out in the field, punch list, daily reporting, quality control, commissioning, all those things that you do in field management for a GC. And all of these tools worked wonderfully, and they were powerful, and they worked great, but they didn't really talk to each other. There was a little communication between Glue and Build, and it wasn't bad, but still, they really didn't share things very much. They didn't have shared markup, shared unification, shared issues, anything like that. So then, as again, Autodesk saw that the need that all these tools really need to integrate with each other. So again, they created the Forge platform and basically rewrote their core applications in the new Forge environment. So we have BIM 360 Design, which has replaced Collaboration for Revit. And that is, of course, for collaborating with Revit cloud models in the cloud, so teams can be all over the world literally working on the same models as if they were in their office. Then for those who need to participate in the clash detection and model coordination phase, we have BIM 360 Glue, still again based on BIM 360 Docs and leveraging that same central data source. And then we have BIM 360 Build, which is basically the replacement for Field, which again is for managing the processes in the field, yet still completely connected to all the other data from early design through construction. On top of that, the main data management portal, of course, is BIM 360 Docs. So you start with Docs, and then you decide, and you can think of Docs as the garage. And then you can see Design, Glue, and Build as essentially the additional power tools that you can have access to. So depending on what your functions are, maybe you just need a place to keep your information, keep your car, right? That's just the garage. But now I want to be able to clean my car and maintain it and make sure it's performing well, right? Well, I can buy those different tools that can go ahead and help me do that. So again, the first part I want to talk about here is really going to pertain to managing CA in the field, of course, is the BIM 360 Docs, which is, again, the foundation to all the BIM 360 platform tools here. So the key role of BIM 360 Docs, of course, is document control. It's version control, accessing the information anywhere where you are, marking those files up, creating and managing issues. The data is portable and embedded there, 2D and 3D support, and so on. So one of the key things, of course, with BIM 360 Docs is that document control. I can set permissions about who can have access to what companies, based on either a person's name, based on a company they work for, based on a role on a project. For all the folders, I can create all these different levels of control. Then I have version control, which is really important. So as we're distributing updated drawings, we want to make sure that if something's being built in the field, that they are looking at the latest updated file. That's a really important part of that. And always one of the biggest challenges in a construction environment is that when you have printed copies, there are dozens of versions on the site. And in most cases, it's almost impossible to control whether or not that is the most recent version. Even if you're sharing things on SharePoint and so on, or by Dropbox or FTP site, it's still very difficult to manage that, to make sure everyone has access and has the right drawings in their hands. So that's a really important part of our function in the field, is making sure that everything that is being built, from the GC to the subcontractors to the fabricators, are all working from that latest document. And then, of course, 2 and 3D support. So, of course, we'll have full access to 2D, PDF files, even AutoCAD in the field if that's what you want. Or if you do have a Revit model, then you can leverage the advantages of 3D as well. But in many respects, BIM 360 isn't about BIM. It's really just about the information in a construction process. You could have 0 BIM in a project, no models, just AutoCAD and PDFs, and still use 98% of the software fully to its fullest extent, with the exception of maybe glue, right? Because that's for 3D model coordination. But when it comes to build and docs, again, 98% of that can be used with just PDF files at the core. So you do not need BIM to use this information. If you primarily use AutoCAD files in your company, not a problem. Print PDFs, you're ready to go, or even leave them as AutoCAD. You can view those directly as well. And again, though, if you are using BIM, then you have that ability to embed the data in the projects. And that data is available not only on the PC, not only in the authoring tool, but in the field as well. So all that information is available to you at any time. And of course, we have that ability to mark up a drawing on our tablet, on our PC, or directly in the field where we find a problem. We could even take a photo and mark the photo up, and then mark up the plan associated with that, and do all that in the field right at the point where I found the problem. And of course, I can create issues. When I find a problem, I may mark it up, I may assign it an issue so I can track it. So I can have a full log of all the issues, who's responsible for dealing with those issues, and I can track the status of those issues from my PC, from my tablet, or my phone for that matter. And of course, right, like I was saying here, mobile access. So I can be anywhere, and I don't have to even be online. I can synchronize the data with my smart device and then be offline while I'm reviewing or walking on the site, marking things up. And then when I get back within range of a Wi-Fi signal, I can then synchronize the data. So you don't have to be live on a tablet device or your phone. You simply just need to make sure you synchronize the data at the office or wherever you have Wi-Fi or cellular, and then maybe you're in an area or a deep basement, lots of metal. Yeah, the signal may not work there. You can still do your job, still create your issues, and when you have access to the internet, it'll just synchronize automatically. So let's take a quick look at the Docs interface here. So again, this is all cloud-based. There's no software to install. There's no IT involved. The responsibility of IT is, do I have internet? Yes, their responsibility is done. So I'll log into my project here. So again, the foundation is Docs, but all the tools are fully integrated based on the tools you have access to. Will control what you see in your module selector. These are the tools I'll have access. So this is my toolbox. This is the garage that I'm in. Here are all the different tools I may need to use. So right now I have my folder structure set up whatever way I want. I have supporting files down here and project files. And one of the first things I really have to think about, right, is permissions. Who can access what? So for instance, I have a bid folder here. So I can look at permissions for the bids. And I want to bring in different individuals that can bid on my project. So in this case here, I've invited these 2 companies that they can upload only. So anyone from that company can upload into this folder. They can't see anything, but they can upload. But then I could also increase their rights to view only, or maybe these same firms. Maybe I'm using my PDF sheets or my Revit sheets. I could go over to permissions for this folder and add those individuals to the folder here. I could add anyone from the MEP company. That MEP company has view only because this is the documents that they'll be bidding on, right? So I'm giving them access to only 2 folders. So now that company has been involved in here, or these specific people, or anyone who is designated as a project manager, for instance. So regardless as to what company you work for, if you are a project manager, maybe you also have upload rights. So as you can see, in a few seconds here, I can very easily go in, change permissions. If there are subfolders here, those permissions will then cascade down into the subfolders. Or I could start at the subfolders and work my way up, or just go to the plans area here and give everyone access. So there's a lot of granular control here that I can go in and very easily add, remove the access, change the permission levels, and so on, or simply remove someone from a project, which then removes their permissions from all the folders and so on. The next part here is version control. You can see right here with this file here, this is a Revit file that I've uploaded. This could have been PDF files as well. You notice that with PDF files using text recognition, it actually pulls all the sheets apart. Even though this is one file still, it knows that there are 7 sheets. It read using text recognition that was sheet A01, that it was the main level. And if I open a PDF file here, there are callouts that are in the drawings. In Revit, that's just understood. They just connect to each other. Well, the software here, if it sees a callout, it automatically generated these connections. So it saw that there was an A6 sheet. It sees that there's a callout. So using AI, it scanned the file and said, oh, these look like callouts. I'll connect them together. So I can click on that, and that would take me, in this case, to my section drawing. That was done automatically through no action that I have to do other than upload the file. If I go back over here to the Revit sheets here again, I see that version control. So I can see that that's version 3 of this document. It's version 2 of this document, and so on. If I go into a 2D model, start with a PDF, and I look at this in version 1 here. And I'm curious, or I should say version 3. This is version 3. I'm curious what changed between maybe versions 1 and 3. Well, I can use my comparison tool now and compare 1 and 3 against each other. Run my compare tool. I could be in the field if I'm on my PC, or make sure before I go to the field, I might want to look for the areas that have been updated. So I'm using this as my planning tool. Before I go out in that field, I want to see where the areas of change are, because that's the parts that I am going to visit. So I see all these areas that are color-coded here, knowing that red is new, blue is existing, or where the original document was. So that means when I go to the job site today, these are the areas that I'm going to check on to make sure that they're following the new plans. So those are the important parts for me. So I've identified those. And then once I've kind of seen the color coding there, I can even change the way I view this, make it side by side. So, oh, now I understand. Originally, we had some shelf units here, but we really wanted to put an enclosed refrigeration closet here. Maybe this is where the beer storage is going to be in the grocery store here, or whatever. So again, I'm able to very easily see those changes, identified locations by color, and I use the slider here to understand the differences. Really powerful tool there. And again, though, if we start using BIM, then we have that additional information, right? So inside of Revit here, or a Revit file that I've uploaded, I too can run the comparison tool. But the difference here, that this is intelligent information. So it's not just going to visually show me everything. It's actually going to provide a quantified, basically, report of all the changes here. So I can see that there are 39 added elements, 10 that have been removed, 37 that have been modified. And again, they're all color-coded. I could isolate this to only show me things that were added. So only the things in green here are shown. I could see just things that were deleted, removed from the model. I can see some shelving units were basically removed. What was changed? What was modified? Here are the objects that were modified. I can select one of the doors while I'm in here, because again, these are objects. And I can see, well, the door used to be here, and this is the new location. What about this wall? That was modified. Oh, it was over here. Now it's over there. And if I want, I can come back in here, either leave it this way or turn everything on, and export an Excel document of every single change, including all the Revit IDs, so I can find the objects. So every single change from versions 1 to 3 have been recorded, because this is an intelligent model. So I can record it via object type. And again, when I'm in the file, like I said, the data and the properties are available to us. So when you have a Revit model, you do have that extra ability of picking a device or a shelf unit or whatever, going here to properties, and then all the Revit information is available to me here. So any of the information we've embedded in that object from Revit is available to anyone that has access to the project here. Also, when I'm in the file, quite often we want to be able to get in and see what something looks like in 3D, or get a better understanding of what it would look like if I was standing somewhere. So I can use this tool here to pick a point on the drawing, decide where I want to look, and it will then take me automatically to the 3D view. So now standing at that location in that orientation in that direction, it shows me what it would look like from that viewpoint. And not only does it show me that, but now at that point, once I get in here, it just takes a second to generate that. Now I can actually navigate and walk around in that project right from one place here. So I could even use this as an augmented reality where I could be standing in this location in the actual project and see where the problems might be. And see where the sign should be and where the sight lines are and where the light fixtures are, all of those things. Again, get information on the ceiling, turn it on or off, whatever I want to do with that information is available here. I could hide it because I wanted to see what was behind the ceiling, and now I have that information here too. So again, this definitely adds value when you do have the Revit models such there. Another powerful tool, of course, is the ability to mark things up. So I have all types of markup tools over to the right here. I can very easily come in and bubble an area. I can control line weight and color of that bubble there very easily. All very intuitive controls. I could freehand things. I could do this on my tablet device or the iPad and so on, arrows, dimensions, text, whatever I basically want to do. And these markups can either be personal for me or published for the team. And once the markups are created, you have the master markup list here, and you can see I can go to any markup just by clicking on it. They're all version specific. Once a markup is completed, I could basically say it is completed and archive a markup. If I want, I can use the filter tool to show me all the completed markups. So now I'm showing archive markups that have been done. This one right here, for instance, was on version 1 of the file. But it's already been done. It was archived. It's completed. So it's gone through the cycle. And I can, of course, turn off the ones that I don't need to see. The next very important tool is the ability to manage and create issues right from the drawings or just directly from the issue area. So right here, these are issues that were created either on the PC or I'm walking around with my tablet device and creating an issue and then managing that issue from that one source. So again, and I can do this both in 2 and 3D. Again, if I go to the 3D model, because I've made sure I provided that as well, I have that 3D reference model. I can take sections. I can walk around in it this way too. Or like I said, use a plan to get to the area that I wanted. So if I take a look at the iPad side of things here, I basically have access to all this information right here. So right at my fingertips, I can open up my BIM 360 app, go to my plans area, or my project files where maybe I've taken photos on the site that I want to record of issues that I've had, or I can go directly to my drawings. I can go into my Revit sheets. I can go into that same file, both in 2D and 3D. There's the same information. I can come in here, and if I have an issue with maybe this door, I needed a size or I needed to swing the other way, whatever. Right in the bottom here, issue. I can tap to create an issue marker. That's where I want my issue to be. I can set a status for this. I can set, well, what type of issue is it? Is it a room inspection? Maybe that's what it is. And, need to do punch list. So I'll type that in here. If I want, I could add a photo. I could add more information to a description. Who's responsible for this, or it's an issue or whatever. So I might come in here and say, well, this person here is responsible for that. Where's the location of the building? So maybe it's in the main building somewhere, and I preset up locations here. Maybe it's this, I'm just going to say it's near the security office here. So that way I can categorize my issues and find them and sort them. I can say, well, when do I need this done by? It needs to be done by the 19th and so on. And who's the owner? I'm the owner. Is there a root cause here or something like that? So what's the root cause of this issue, right? So it's a document conflict. In this case, it's performed by, who's it going to be performed by? This person right there. And I can create that issue. I'm done. What we do beforehand, we get a clipboard out, we'd write down something, maybe take a few photos with our phone, go back to the job site trailer, try to gather the information, rewrite out the report, pick up our email list, try to remember who I have to assign this to, send out a dozen emails hoping it goes to the right person. Hopefully I'll get a response. I'm not sure who's responding to it. Don't know. I have emails, I have PDFs, I have documents, I have things in SharePoint all over the place. Or just create this one singular issue, click a point, and I'm done. It's already, that person here has already been sent a reminder to respond to this. I am now tracking that. I've set a due date. I've attached documents and photos and issues or what was wrong with this particular area here. And that person could now open that and then respond to it, and they could answer it, and then the other person can close it or void it out. So anyone coming in that day, I mean, I could come in here, go to my master issue list. Actually, let's get out of the drawing here. Here's the master issue list, all the issues right here. I can go in and filter those and filter them by just the ones that are assigned to me. So on that day I come in, these are all the issues I need to respond to. And then I could also look for, but only show me issues also under filters that the status is, of course, maybe answered or open. So what do I want there, or the type of issue? So the status here, I get to say, show me just the open issues. So now just the open issues are listed, or maybe just the answered ones, and so on. I pick that, I have all my data. One place, one single source of truth. I'm in the field walking the site. I see a problem, I create an issue and take a photo. It doesn't have to be part of drawing. Again, I have all that information, again, at my fingertips here. So really powerful tool in that regard. So then we start getting more into, those are Docs tools, and some of us may already be using that. If we're using BIM 360 Design, everything I just showed you, you have access to. If you're collaborating with Revit right now with live models and using BIM 360 Design, you already own these tools. If you don't, maybe you just want to go at this level, you don't need some of the other things I'm going to show, you could start with Docs and use that for your construction administration just for the document management side of things. Then we look at BIM 360 Build, which originally, and most people think it's just for the GCs, and it certainly is for the general contractors and the subcontractors in the field. But I have plenty of other firms who are using this as their construction administration tool. So again, BIM 360 Build, on top of what I've already showed you, now adds submittal tracking. It uses the exact same consolidated issue management system. So issues created both in Build and Docs are basically all managed and maintained in one singular place. Again, quality control, punch lists. You may or may not be safety management. That's more for a contractor, let's say, RFI tracking, and even daily reporting if you want to use that tool as well. But I'm just going to really focus on the tools that I see someone using in the field. So, of course, RFIs, right? Request for information. So we're always having people asking us a question about something. Maybe they're in a 3D view like this. They put an RFI in question and ask, hey, is this what type of window is going here? What's the thickness? Is this door swinging the right way? What's the lock set? The information is missing from the drawing, whatever. They're able to go in right at the site, create an RFI, assign it to someone, and wait. They're done. They don't have to fill out any further information. They don't have to check their email. All they have to do is have that device open. Email might come in saying that it's been answered, because that's what email is used for, is a notification system only. All data is only here. Email is actually out of this equation. There's no email involved here on purpose. Email becomes a notification tool, very powerful one, but that's it. No data is conveyed in email. All the data is stored here. Same with submittals. So in this case, you create items that you assign to maybe different subcontractors who need to get some shop drawings in, because your job is to review those shop drawings first. And then once you've found those, you can then add them to what we call package and then submit the package for approval, which would be a collection of different subcontractors who have added their data to it. And you're able to manage the process now. Now you have a designed process that is repeatable and that you go over and over again to do this. And then all the data that gets submitted can then be added into the document control system, and there's all the latest documents. And of course, quality control, in this case, checklist, punch list. One of the key things that architects are doing during construction, during pre-delivery to the client, when we're closing the project out, we've got to make sure that the rooms are painted, the the room numbers are on right, the faceplates are on all the outlets and things like that. The HVAC system is working, the warranty information is gathered and given to the client and delivered, all of those things. So we're able to create our own custom checklist based on what our specific business needs are and walk around that site and just enter the information once. And that's really more the key, the real key to all of this, again, is that single center of truth here, that single source of truth that everyone basically has access to. And of course, the checklist primarily function is to be filled out in the field, and I'll show that in a minute. And in the issue management that are created from those checklists, it's all part of the same consolidated, unified issue management system across all the tools. So no matter what tool you're using, it could be BIM 360 Design, it could be Glue, it can be Build. All the issues are one place for all of those. So no matter what tool you're using and that you're invited to in a project, it can have a consolidated issue management system. And again, all those issues are managed again in the field, as I showed you already on the iPad there. A newer tool here that's available for anyone who has cost build can also buy a cost management module, which is kind of like a sub-module for build. And this is going to basically allow you to manage change orders. That's its primary function at the moment. So this allows you to manage the budget based on those change orders. You can customize it. You can visualize your cost-related risk. Now you can create your change management orders through this system and manage those. And again, you have key features here. You can set up your budget structure, detail potential change orders and owner-generated change orders and cost items and such. There's now a specific change order workflow that you can now follow and is basically automated. And then again, with all these tools and all this data, as I already mentioned before, we are able to analyze that information. So again, as I'm walking the site and gathering this data, someone back at the office could be looking at the project home, the insight pages in the system, and then see what our RFI issues are, what our submittal items are, all in a singular dashboard. I could even have job site cameras integrated here automatically, so maybe I have a job site camera just to see what's going on. It's become almost standard operating procedure now to see cameras on site just to keep an eye on things, both for security, but also just to see the status without having to go to the site every day, right? So we have that as a very common tool that's being used now. So let's go ahead and again pop in BIM 360 here. Again, it's one platform. It's one unified tool. So we've already seen the document management part. So if I want to go ahead and go into and start managing other processes here, whether it be RFIs, whatever. So I can go ahead here and go up to my project management section first. And I'm going to go to project admin. So as an administrator, I want to set up what my process wants to be. So right here, I can come in under project management. I can set up some workflows. So right here under RFIs, I want to come in and I want to set a workflow here. So there's going to be a creator, a manager, and a reviewer. And here are the people who can be a creator, who is the manager, who can be a reviewer. And I can have more than one person here or a company. I could change the workflow and go to a second reviewer as well. So I have different predefined workflows that the RFIs will follow. Now with an issue, you just create it and assign it to someone. RFIs are very similar to issues, except they follow a very specific and designed workflow. And that's the key here, is that you can create those workflows, ensuring that the right people are notified. That way, if someone creates an RFI, they don't have to know who the manager is, because they know it's pre-assigned and will automatically go to that person. So they don't have to be aware of that. And anyone who's a reviewer knows they're going to be a reviewer, and they will get those RFIs for review. So that's what we would do here first, is just create that. Once that's done, back in document management, again, that single source of truth, we're able to manage those RFIs both in the field. We can create them in the field. We can manage them on the PC, or just even create them in the PC and manage them all that way, depending on what we want to do. So again here, I can go into my project management here, and I can see any of my RFIs, and of course I'll talk about submittals as well. So right here in the RFI management, this is my RFI log. I can filter those logs by the status, submitted, open, answered, rejected, closed, voided, and so on, by a particular user created it, and so on. If I select one of these, I can open this one. This is an open RFI. It's not completed yet. So I can see right here, here's an included document that was included with this RFI. I could submit the official response. So I can come in here and I can have a distribution list and assign that to a distribution list, change the due date. So maybe actually this is not due until June 29th. So I've changed the due date of that. I could add additional attachments here by adding photos. I can browse. I can drag and drop files right here. I can browse to the system, upload a file to the computer. Maybe I want to add another photo that we took recently, or a bid document, or maybe there's a spec book I need to basically assign to this. So I want that document here to be assigned to it as well. So now I've added some more information to this. And here's a key. All activity on everything is tracked. When it was created, when it was modified, when documents were added to it. All of that is automatically tracked, and you can't edit that. It happened, it's tracked. So all that information is in here. Once I see that, I can submit this for an official response, mark it as answer, type in the answer, and of course include any documents there. And then that would update here in that one place. Again, anyone assigned to it gets those notifications instantly. Also here, we have the submittals area. So I set someone up, or a group of people, to be a submittal manager. And then our first step is to basically create our spec section. So we enter our spec section data into the project here. Then we go into items. So items are the things that we send out, again, to our individual people, maybe the shop drawing people. We need to gather the shop drawings to review them and submit them to the GC. So maybe, again, I create an open item. So when I create an open item here, I'm looking for shop drawings. So maybe I need to know how the acoustical ceiling tiles are being hung because we have a unique structural situation here, or it's a high seismic activity area and we have to have different supports, black iron like in New York City, or different areas that have different types of supports based on that. And here's the document that someone may have added. So I sent this item out. I created an open item. It was sent out to the GC, or not to the GC, to the subcontractor. They responded to this element, this item, sent it back to me. I reviewed it. I've gathered, these are all the questions that I've gathered from individual contractors. So let's say these two right here. And I've taken these two and I want to add them to a package. So I've added them already to this submittal package right here. So I needed details for bidding purposes. So if I open this one, you can see that here are those two open items. So these are the two open items that are part of the submittal package. They've responded. They've given me the information. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to submit this to the reviewer. Or I could return it. Hey, I found it. This isn't enough information. So I could support this and return those back to the responsible contractors to say, hey, these are not fulfilled properly. You need to fulfill them. I'll review them again. They're good. I can go ahead and then I could basically submit this to the next submittal reviewer, who will then submit the official response. And again, here is my package log. These are all my submittals. Here's a closed one. So this one has been approved as the response. I can see the details and the process. I can see any participants who were involved with this particular one. I can, of course, select it, go in. I can see the details. I can see any attachments. I can see all activity on the submittal. Again, single source of truth, tracking everything, one single place, and that's the key here. The next part, of course, here is under field management. What am I doing in the field as well? Besides observations, besides seeing an issue and taking a photo, creating it based on a photo, I might also want to have my punch lists and things. So here is where I have all my active punch lists and things that are going on. And here are my templates. So I come in here, I create the punch list, and I can cut and paste into an Excel document that can then be imported in. I have all my standard punch list type of checklist, or whatever checklist I want. You design it any way you want. Response types, you can make it so that in the field someone has to sign off on it with an actual signature on the iPad if that's what you need to do. All of those things would be available to you to fill out. So again, this is where I design and create the checklist. So I can come in here and I can edit the checklist. I can change the order of things. I want to take one and make it two. And see what just happened there? The numbering automatically updated. Or again, I can move that back here, automatically renumbered itself. Change my response types, indicate which response is a negative response, which will then automatically generate an issue. So all of that is done. Once I want to start a checklist, I can pick one of these. Maybe we need to inspect the doors and frames. So I can create the checklist here. The checklist is now created. Now I'm going to take the checklist and assign it to this person. And then I need the checklist to be filled out on the 14th or by the 14th. It is a punch list, and if I want, I can have a description in there. This is good to go. That person has been assigned this checklist. So that person, and then I can come in and say it has to be done by June, and we'll just say June 27th. So I've now created that checklist here. Back in the field now, so if we go back over here and look in the field, I can go in the checklists, and I can synchronize that. And then I can go into the filter here and look for a scheduled date. So I can say, show me one in the next 14 days. Are there any? Yep, and there it is. So this one, doors and frames, hasn't been started yet. I can select it. Now I can start filling out my information. So that's compliant. This is compliant here. So I go through and I find all the compliant areas. Maybe some places it's not applicable. And there's a problem here. They used a hollow core instead of a solid core. Issue. It's a negative response. Here's a problem. Verify core type is required. That's a title. Then I could change that here in description, and I'll just say wrong core. I could support that, of course, with a photo if I need to. Who needs to respond to this? Well, maybe John Jones here needs to respond to that. And where's the location of this? Well, it's in the main building. Oh, and it's at the pharmacy area. Okay, because that needs a solid core door for security. I could add location information. When does this have to be updated? Well, we got to get this done by tomorrow. Okay, so someone needs to run down Home Depot and get a new door. And due date, okay, yeah, that's fine. Well, actually, I didn't want to clear that. Let's go back to the due date. And again, I'll pick that tomorrow. There we go. Again, what's the root cause of this? Is it a design coordination, constructability? It's a final walkthrough, or it's an inspection. It's a quality, or it's incomplete work, or it's workmanship. They picked the wrong thing and they didn't read the documents properly, whatever. And who is this performed by? Again, John Jones. And then I can hit create. That issue has now been issued. It's created. It's assigned to this line item in the checklist, and then I can continue going on, completing the checklist or filling out the NAs that are not important. And again, anytime I run into an issue, it'll automatically create. Or even if something's okay, I may still want to manually add an issue, manually add a note, or manually just simply add a photo to that one line item just as a confirmation that something has been done. So now I have access to all the checklists. I can assign them to individuals. They would have the app. They'd open up. They'd see all the checklists that are assigned to them. And again, here's my whole log right here. Every checklist I need. I can filter that, again, by whatever I'm looking for here as well. So it's very important to me. All of that's managed here. And again, all my issues, all the issues that I've created, everything that I've just done is showing up here. All that information, again, filter it by whatever way you want to, of course, add any filters there. And you can see right here, verify the core type is as required. That was the issue I had just created there. And again, back to my main document management here. So now I have access to all of that data. Again, in one place, I can be in the field. All of it's at my fingertips, everything's set up in the office, and then I continue moving on. And again here, once I have all of the data, I can go to Project Home. Project Home allows me to basically see that initial dashboard that I let everyone see. So this is the key dashboard for the team as a whole. But then I have other dashboards, the inside area that is maybe for the people who are just managing the project and creating reports and such. So right here, I have my project address. I have a quick list of the latest project issues, the current weather today on the site, which isn't very pleasant here today. I have my project submittal list, the last 5 or 6 submittals. So these are just kind of master pages to see a dashboard view. And say I want to see all the project issues, but from here. I can expand it and see all the issues right here. There are 2 pages of them. Or if I want, notice that I can filter here too and show me observations, work list, punch list, whatever. And again, I can close this and go back to the main page, but I'm still in that dashboard area. What I also like I mentioned before, is I can connect job site cameras. So this is a live camera of this project right here. Or I can go to this other company right here, right-click, or not right-click, go to the menu here, and go to a live video as opposed to a snapshot in time. So now I'm seeing actual site and what the status is, and I can incorporate those into my main page here. And again, I can customize this and show the different cards. So here's my card library. These are all the different types of reports that are available, third-party companies that interact, Power BI, that allows you to be very flexible. You know, different companies Autodesk has partnered with, or companies really basically created plugins for this. And if I don't like the order or the orientation, I may rather have the weather to the far left. I'll just move it to the far left, and I'll put the project address up here. So I can organize this any way I want, hit save, and it saves the position of everything. And again, only administrators have the ability to customize that. Now for other individuals, I'm going to give access to Insight. Insight gives me a deeper look into the project. So now I can see right here. So of the issues that I have, 41 of them are undefined, 33 are design coordination, 11 are workmanship issues, 11 are code compliance, design deficiencies, whatever I want to look at. I can look here, total issues, active versus closed. So I'm creating a lot of issues, but I notice that the close rate is kind of lagging behind. We've got to step up the closing of these. So again, I can add different cards of this, reorganize this. And I have ones for quality, for safety, if we care about that, project controls. And this again could be design issue trend, open RFIs by current assignee, and so on. But the real key here is the ability to create detailed reports. So here are the detailed reports here. This allows me to not only see any report that I've created during the project. On the saved area here, I now have the ability to create a report. And it could be an issue detail, just a summary, project management, RFI detail, RFI summary, submittal item detail, summary, field management, again, issues here. So I can manage all of those. And once I create one of these, like a detailed issue, and I select that, well, what do I want to call this? So I can come up on the left here, and I can change the name of it. Then once I've done that, I can then filter it by, well, what do I want this to be? Just open issues, just issues that are past due? Maybe that's what I want to see. I want to see all the issues that the due date is tomorrow. So I want to make sure that I want a list of all the issues that are due tomorrow. And then what I can do is I can save this. And then I can also schedule it. So I want to take this and share this report with these people. So these people will get the report. Now, this is one of the few places in the system that I can actually email something to someone who doesn't have a license. So they do not have to have a BIM 360 license to have access to the PDF report. They can't respond, but they have the report. A message, and then I can set this to be every week, and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m., this report is going to be sent out starting today and until December 10th. And what you get for the report is a nice PDF print. It has all the bookmarks of all the issues, and then you can go to each issue, and any issue you have, if there are any photo attachments, those photos will be viewable and available right in that detailed report. And you'll have access to all of that information at your fingertips. And this can be sent out as that reminder every day, once a week, once a month, as often as you want. And that's probably one of the most important tools here, in my opinion, is that ability to report on things and keep an eye on my project. Because this is the analysis. You have all that data. Now we can analyze the data, see where the problems are in this project, so when we get to the next project, we don't run into those problems again. So we're going to have that continual improvement process. And really, that's really what a lot of this is. But as a designer, I can now go in the field and track all of this. I have access to all this information for and during the project. And again, I'm not dealing with paper and email and all these other things. I have that, of course, single source of truth. So with that, that's the end of my presentation here. And I know we can open this up for questions if you want to enter those into the chat window. We have a few minutes here to cover any of those. So again, if you have any questions, just please go ahead and enter that information in the Q&A or in the chat area. I'll see if I can get over to the Q&A myself here. There we go.
Hey, Scott, this is Robert. So I can go through some of these questions if you'd like.
Yeah, sure. I can see them too, but yeah, it'd be good to kind of have that two-way.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Sure. So the first question was, is there an offline mode for mobile devices like iPhone, tablet, so they can access plan set, PDFs, RFIs, submittals, those sorts of things?
Yeah, certain parts, yes. So the RFIs, submittals, the RFIs, the document management, issue management, all of in checklists are all offline. So when you're on your tablet, it's specifically designed so that you can be offline to do that. The only thing that's not that way is submittals. Submittals are in the system, but that's a little different. You wouldn't be kind of filling those out in the field anyway. That's a different situation. But just about everything else you do in the field is designed specifically to be worked on in an offline mode on your smart devices. But again, that's iOS and Android only, not like a Surface Pro is just a PC. It's not really a tablet. So that needs internet access. What could be used?
So is it possible to host a 2D AutoCAD file in Docs and have it notify as a read-only file when a second person tries to open the file?
It's not designed to be a place where you would edit the files, although there are some capabilities and you do have an ability to lock a file so no one can edit it. But again, this is not meant to replace like a server. Basically, you can make a folder read-only and if you want to put an AutoCAD file, you absolutely can. And then if the file needs to be updated, it would be updated and then uploaded into the system. Now, you could edit that one file, but you'd have to make sure that you would manually lock it, like check it out, which you can do. You can check it out, and then using the desktop connector, which is a plugin you need to install, you would be able to open the AutoCAD file, work on it, and then close it, and then save it. And then those saves would show in the portal. But again, you have to remember to manually lock and unlock it. But there is a possible workflow there, but I would not. That's really not what its intent is.
Okay. And Dan would like to know if you can group markups.
Not right now. Markups are really individual. What you can do, though, is you could create one, and what I typically do is I will create a markup. Not a markup, sorry. I'll create an issue, because that's the best way to track markups. I put a bubble around all the areas that have changed, and then that master bubble is kind of around the group, if you will, and then you can mark up within that. But if the markup that you're trying to group are all over the drawing, that would be kind of hard to do. So typically what I do is I always create a issue, then I mark up around the issue, and that way I can track them all. And that way would be a way to categorize them, because again, if you say what type of markup is this, right, or what type of issue, and that's a way you could kind of group categorize things. So in a way, there is a way to do it. It's not just taking a bunch of markups and grouping them.
Okay. So some contract agreements or bureaucracies have standard forms that they want used. Can BIM 360 accommodate standardized or customized forms and formats for RFIs, COs, et cetera?
Not really, in a way. I mean, you can customize and configure questions and budget items, and when it comes to that type of thing, but the form is really it's basically hard-coded as part of the system. Now, the questions and content, yes, to a certain level, there are certain things that you can basically do. But in many respects, the intention is to eliminate the need for the forms, because if you need information about the RFI, you open the system and look at the information. That is the intent. Now, like I said, though, you can create the reports, which are then PDF and then printable, of course. But they are in the format that the system provides. There is no editing of that per se.
Okay. Is there an offline mode for mobile devices to access plan sets?
Yes, all of that is designed to be, like I mentioned before, all designed to be offline. So that is important, right? Because we know what the job sites are like, especially if we're in a remote location, or again, even with our RFI or RFI, sorry, Wi-Fi repeaters or whatever on site, sometimes it's not that good. So yes, it's very much designed to download the data to the iPad and be completely offline until you get back to the job site trail, then it will synchronize it all. It does a very good job of that.
Does BIM 360 track who and when has viewed a file or a document?
Yes. Yes, every single click in the system is tracked. And not only is it tracked, you can see it and you can even export it as an Excel document. You can pick the whole project, a specific day, a date range. So every activity, if someone's clicked on something to view it, it's tracked. If they've edited it, it's tracked. If they download it, it's tracked. If they create an issue, it's tracked. So even though the issue itself is tracked as an issue, there's a whole other area that tracks all action on the project. So you have that legal paper trail that unfortunately sometimes we need that, right? Because the big joke is a construction project is really just a controlled litigation, right? Unfortunately, that sometimes is the truth. So yeah, there's a very robust system and it's uneditable. It's tracked, it's there forever. In fact, if you put a document in the system, you can never delete it. You can put it into a deleted folder, but the deleted folder is never emptied. And there's unlimited project storage here, so that's not going to be a problem either.
Okay. Hey, Scott, we have run out of time. There are lots more questions, and we could certainly put together a blog post or something like that to answer all the questions that we're getting. I would certainly encourage anyone who has